As always, I try to find the most fascinating, most interesting, most compelling people to have conversations that I share with you. And I learn, and hopefully you learn. And as I get inspiration, my hope is somehow you are also becoming inspired and learning something you probably didn't know before. My guest today is a divine messenger. She has struggled with many different health challenges and was told she wouldn't recover from a lot of what she's not only recovered from, but is very healthy and helping people around the world in many, many different ways. So today we are just going to focus on how she recovered from these illnesses that she was told she wouldn't recover from, and where she gets the get go and the courage and all of the inspiration to do what she's doing in the world today. Also, why it's important that she spread the divine messages that she is bringing to the world. Her name is Daniela DeCastro. And like I said, she's a divine messenger. Welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn, Daniela.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennylyn. I really appreciate you.
I've always loved the name Daniela, just so you know, for many reasons. It's one of my favorite names. And so I love your name and I love your energy. We
Thank you.
were introduced by a mutual friend, and I thought there's some people that you meet and it's you can feel their light when you meet them. And when I meet people like you, I feel like it's an obligation almost to share your light with others because you never know how you could help another life. So, welcome to Conversations with Jenny Len, and tell us about your story. Share your story and how you've overcome.
I thank you for this opportunity. And the reason why I like sharing my story, because I think so many people feel limited, especially if they're told, like, this is your diagnosis. And people take that to heart, you know? And even, I'm trying to think. I remember years ago, not personally myself, but my mom called me and told me they said she had cancer, and they said, we don't know if you have 6 months or a year. And I got angry and told her, you're a number to them. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't care. You need to go leave the state that we were living in and go to, you know, a better hospital. I don't want to put it out there, but, and you know what? She had surgery and it was not a death sentence, but she never would have done that. But all of her children were like, absolutely not. Do you know what I mean? She could have bought into that and just, gotten her affairs in order. So I do feel we need to personally take responsibility and take back our power, because I guess I'll start maybe with the most, I don't know if you want me to talk about my brain injury first, or if you'd like me to talk about what they told me, that I would end up in a wheelchair, quadriplegic, I would never be able to have children. Not sure which one. The
Well,
not have children, you
they
know.
both sound equally scary, so you choose the one you want to start with.
Well, the day before my wedding, I was told that I would never be able to have children. And they showed me on x-rays why. And I almost called off my wedding, because I didn't feel it was fair. That was a big thing, that we wanted to have
Can
children.
I stop you? Did they know you were getting married?
I did tell him after the fact, that's a really lovely time to share this with me. I'm getting married tomorrow. And it's like, oh, sorry. Like, I never went back to that person ever again. So it was a chiropractor, and it just was not a pleasant experience. So, and when I went home crying, my sister's, who is an RN, she's like, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, I really was ready to call off the wedding. I didn't think it was fair. So fast forward 6 months later, we moved states from New York to Florida. and I'm in so much pain. This is nothing new. Ever since I was a preschooler, I had problems with, I guess you would say your spine, right? I would get a lot of stiff necks. It was just excruciating pain. When I was a teenager, they had me, what is that? Like, to lift your neck.
Brace?
More than a brace. I had a brace, but it was something to hang over the door to stretch my spine. When I was even preteen, they told me you must have been in a car accident. And it was like a surgeon, and I said, I'm pretty sure I'd remember that. But because at that time I was not in a car accident. So, but I always had such pain. And in my 20s, it became crippling, where I was married and I was very fit, but I would have to like roll over slowly to get out of bed. And I would crawl, not every day, but in flare-ups, crawl to the bathroom to use it, like crawling on all fours. And you get very depressed. Your life is very limited. And here I am in my 20s still, And what happened was I was like, I can't do this. All I can tell you is a pain, I was going to see doctors. They were giving me medication. They had different therapies for me. Nothing touched the pain, is all I could tell you. So I was new to the state. I'm a newlywed. I went to church. It was a Catholic church. And I'm on my knees praying. And I'm not making noise, but my face is saturated from tears because I would fantasize about putting a bullet in my head because I just couldn't take the pain.
Wow.
And the woman next to me is like a stranger. And she's like I said, I'm not making noise and I'm just praying. And she said, don't worry, dear, everything's going to be okay. And I just turned to look at her. She was sitting on, I guess you call a pew. And I was so angry. And in my head, I'm going, what do you know? You know what I mean? You don't know, and I'm not saying anything, but I'm furious because I'm in so much pain. Well, I'm still praying. And it was a healing mass. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden throughout the church, you start hearing people speak in tongues. I'd never had that experience before. And I remember thinking, am I in a Catholic church? It was just so very bizarre. Well, this woman's doing it too. And a bunch of them go to the altar, right? And back then I didn't know about such things. And I'm like, okay, so I'm still on my knees praying. And I said, Lord, if you want to heal me, you can do it right here, right now. I don't need to get up. I don't need anyone to touch me or anything. You can heal me right now if that's your will. And the answer was yes. I'm not saying that it's always a yes, but I'm a tough cookie when I'm dealing with the angels or God. And it's like, okay, do this, if you're willing to do this. And when I went back to the surgeon, because the surgeon, I had just been to the doctor, they didn't know what they could do for me. I had degenerative disc failure, disease, and it was so high up. That's why they said.
How old were you?
I was a newlywed, so I was still in my late 20s. I told you though, even when I was a preschooler, I always had problems. I think I brought it in with me, if you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah.
That are a little more advanced, knowing about past lives, Akashic records. So like that, I was healed, right? So I go back to the surgeon because this is something you keep following up with. And they had shown me the x-rays. They showed me where it was failing, 2 different discs that were very high up. So they were saying you're going to be a quadriplegic. So I go back to the surgeon and they take more x-rays and it's up there. You could see it. You know what I mean? The wall has the light where you could see your x-rays. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you, but it's gone. And because of my medical issues, I'd been going to doctors since I was very little. I was a little bit of not the easiest person probably to deal with because I was so angry about my limitations. And I backed him in a corner and I'm like, well, what do you mean it's gone? Is there any way that you could have mixed up the x-rays? Because I knew if I told him God had healed me, he would have said something else. Do you know what I mean?
Why do people have such a difficult time with that?
they,
Accepting that.
because people believe that God spoke to people in the Bible in the past. That's not something that happens now. They don't believe that you can talk directly to God. They don't believe that miracles happen. Like, no, that happened 2,000 years ago. No, that's not true. Miracles happen constantly. But people have that belief system. Maybe it's our programming, right? So think about it. If you don't believe that you can be healed, you're not going to, because that's your belief system. If you don't believe that you can run a successful business, you're not. That's your belief system. You already put it out there. So for me, I said to God, I don't have to get up. If it's your will, you can heal me right here. So this poor man, this doctor, I just grilled him. How could it be possible? You told me that I had degenerative disc failure. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I really backed him in the corner. And I finally smiled and I said, I know why. I said, I went to a healing mass and God healed me. And he just stared at me. He didn't know what to say, because had he had a comeback, I took it away by saying, how is this possible that I no longer have this degenerative disc disease? He was, he just looked at me. And that was just one of the times. Do you want to hear something really sad? I forgot about this because you're healed and it's like you move on, And I remember at the time, my husband saying to me, don't you remember that healing? Don't you? I forgot all about it. He had to remind me about my pain, remind me about my disease. And he's like, don't you remember you went to a healing mass and you were cured? And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a dream. I don't know why. It's like it turned into like a dream that it never happened. And I was like, so it's kind of foggy, like, oh yeah, that did happen. You would think that would have been forefront, right? For the rest of my life, but it
I
was.
would think that would leave an indelible mark for the kind of pain you've been describing.
Pardon me?
I said, I would think that would have left an indelible mark somewhere on your mind because of the pain you were experiencing.
You would think. And now I'm in my 50s.
Amazing.
So how is it a 4-year-old was in pain where the neighbor would have to come and bring this thing that heated up and they'd put it on my neck? So I had so much trouble, even at 4 years old or younger, and now I'm 54, and that's not the case. How is that possible?
Wow. And you've never had any pain or any problems?
I occasionally like sleep wrong. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the car accident aggravated it when I had the brain injury. That aggravated everything again. Not the same, like I had to have physical therapy, deep tissue massage. I had a baby. Well, remember they said I couldn't have a baby. I couldn't carry a baby full term. I've had 2 children. So not only was I healed up here, the bottom half of my spine, I guess they said should be like, I don't know, a little bit of a curvature. There was something wrong with mine. And they said I would not be able to carry a baby. That was before my wedding. And no problems carrying either child. Granted, second one was a little big for me, but that's a different issue. So when my daughter was, I guess, 14 months old, something like that, I didn't want to go out to dinner. My sister-in-law was visiting with her new husband, and they kept pushing and pushing and kept saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And I got outvoted. So truly, tops were 5 minutes away from home. And thank God I was in a safe car, Subaru, because my daughter's car seat was next to the window. I was in the middle. My sister-in-law, we were all in the back seat. My sister-in-law is next to me. And it was around Christmas time. So there were Christmas parties, people drinking. And this huge SUV thing like comes out of a church area where they were having a party, slams into the side. We're stuck in traffic. We're not moving. It was all traffic, so you couldn't get out of the way.
Were you T-boned?
Pardon me?
Did she T-bone you?
Yes. And like I said, thank God my 1-year-old was in the car seat. She was safe. But me, the upper half of my body, the bottom half stayed because I'm squeezed in between 2 people, right? The top half went like this and banged my head against the window. I have a blood disease called von Willebrand, which is a cousin of hemophilia. The worst possible thing that could happen to us is a brain injury, the most dangerous. So I don't remember too much. My sister-in-law is a doctor who was sitting next to me, and I started immediately saying, my head hurts, my head hurts, my head hurts. And when rescue showed up, they did some questions like, where do you live? What's your phone number? And what I realized was the information, because it was coming out of my mouth, but it was wrong. It was from a year prior. And I got scared because I realized, no, that's wrong. That's not my phone number. That's not my address. And it kind of freaked me out because I couldn't remember where I currently lived. You know what I mean? I just didn't answer the question. So they brought me to a hospital, and I was strapped to a gurney for hours because that night, people in my neighborhood, people just died. Young women, mothers died. So they were trying to save people's lives. So I got stuck, strapped to a gurney. By the time they got to me, they didn't realize I was so hurt. There was internal bleeding in my brain. And by the time they got to me, I had to sign a piece of paper. I'm alone in the hallway, right? And I couldn't lift my right arm. I was willing it, like, get up, get up, and it wouldn't budge. So then tears started to come out the side, because I'm laying flat, out the side of my eyes. I'm really upset about this because I realized something's wrong.
Were you the only person in this car who got injured?
I am. Out of
Wow.
5 of us. There were 5 of us, yes.
So was the impact on your side of the car?
I was in the middle of the back seat, so I went over my daughter's car seat like this way. And so it injured the upper half of my body, and my head banged the passenger window, which caused my brain injury.
But you probably protected your daughter.
Right. And like I said, she was safe in her car seat. I think if she didn't have a car seat, plus she was little, like meaning a tiny person, not just that she was 14 months old. She's half Filipino. So she wasn't as big as American babies. Had she been a normal American baby, she would have been forward facing, and it would have been a different type of car seat. And I don't think she would have been as protected. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So, because she was just in more of a laying down more and completely covered. So what happened was I lost my ability to speak freely, which means if you asked me a question, or if I wanted to say something to you, by the time it went from my brain to my lips, it was like a long time ago. You know what I mean? It just didn't make sense. I lost my short-term memory. I remember maybe 9 months later going to Disney and thinking there was a ride, the Poseidon or whatever, right? Like, or maybe it was Universal. And I said, wow, this is really cool. And I'm like, I said I'd never been there before. My husband was so frustrated with me. He's like, yes, you have. We were here 6 months ago, whatever. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. I had no recollection. Like, I lost a lot of my short-term memory, and that lasted for many years. And so I lost my ability. The way my neurologist described it was like a stroke. I only recently, my daughter's now going to be 23, and she's interested in going into the medical field. And she said, Mom, do you realize each thing, because she kept asking me questions, they're each a different part of your brain. So my brain wasn't just injured in one area. There must have been so much bleeding that it impacted several different areas of my brain. Losing short-term memory, that's 1. Not able to move your arm, that's 2. Not being able to speak, 3. You know what I mean? It was just like, she said those are all located in different parts. They didn't even know I had a brain injury for many, many, many months because I wasn't bouncing back. I wasn't, by the time I got to a neurologist, that's when I found out. Like, but this happened around Christmas. That's like spring, almost summer by the time I find out. But they gave me 3 months. I was nowhere near recovered by 3 months. 3 years. And it was so bad that when I had a baby 2 years later, It also impacted my metabolism and everything, my anger, because he described it to my former husband. We were still together. In the past, a police officer might have pulled your wife over. She might have gotten angry and ripped up the ticket, right? I'm not paying this, rip it up. He goes, now she'll get out of the car because she goes 0 to 100 and she'll beat the bleep out of the cop. Like, because that's just another part of the brain. So that was true. Like, you know what I mean? That scale. So after 3 years, I still was not it changed my personality. That's another thing. It did. And I remember, you only have 3 years to recover. And I thought about it and I'm like, I was a shell of who I was. And I'm like, no, unacceptable. And I said, nobody is going to tell me this is it. This is all you can heal yourself. I said, absolutely not. Like I was talking to myself and I'm like, I am going to heal. This is ridiculous. And I've talked to other doctors that have had brain injuries and their spouses, and they do not recognize it. You know, granted, it was a long time ago, but I keep getting stronger and stronger, and I healed. Like you can see it. Somebody had this technology. You could still see the damage in the center of my brain. You could definitely see where there was a problem, but it's not in all parts of my brain anymore. So
You get a lot of severe headaches.
do I know?
That's
No,
amazing.
but
So
it did impact my vision as well. And that's something I'm working on healing because if I close my eyes, I'll get dizzy. Like, you know, that was one of the tests, you know, try to see if you could do balance. It's still a little bit of an issue. There's still little bits, you know. But when I realize that, because every time I go to get an eye test, they'll say, no, your vision is good, but yet it's still blurry or this or that. So that's something I'm like, okay, I realize I need to focus more on my brain, not trying to heal my eyes, which I believe we can do, but okay, I need to do more healing on my brain. So, and my vision is starting to get better, and my hearing. It's kind of cool.
You know, not so long ago, I interviewed a doctor, and he had a near-death experience. And one of the things he told me that's always bothered me is when he woke up in the hospital, they told him, get your life in order. You only have this much time. You're not going to be the same. And I understand that doctors need to be as honest as possible, but I wish there was a different way to do that. Because when you say this to someone who is not very strong, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And
Exactly.
there are some people who believe if whatever the doctor says is the law.
Exactly.
And so whatever a doctor tells them, they will conform to that prognosis or that whatever advice, and they live their life based on what the doctor said. And I think doctors who do this should probably find a different way to relay this information so that a weak person would not just buy into that and not try.
And give up.
Exactly. Because I've seen it happen where the person said, the doctor told me this.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. You know, it's funny because a good friend of mine that I grew up with, I guess in the fall, told me she has pancreatic cancer. And like that's how my father crossed over within 5 months, and she's still here, you know. And it's just amazing to me because she's a very spiritual person and she's not done. You know what I mean? She's not one that's going to buy that, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, you won't believe it, but we are down to 6 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Why should you be sorry? You're telling us the story. But I don't want the time to run out, so forgive me for the interruption. I'd like you to introduce to us exactly what is a spiritual messenger. And at another show, we can get into exactly, whatever we don't tell, whatever you can't share today.
Okay, I understand. Spiritual messenger. All right. I would say why I'm here, and I don't mean on the show, but why I'm here. I've had many lifetimes like shamanic, a Native American medicine woman and man. And I've accumulated when I looked in the Akashic records, and this has been coming up for me from others and as well as myself for many years. So I think I've had all these lifetimes. So it's like I have a good bag, right? A good toolbox. So when people work with me, it's for healing, enlightenment, but it's all to grow and evolve. So my clientele comes to me because they want to change their lives. So I help them to give them tools to change their lives. It could be a psychic reading. So when people come in for a psychic reading, the first thing that I do is check their chakras and things like that, remove things, help them. And we do it together with their permission. So, but I'm used as a channel and I connect to the divine. So the information that comes through me is to help them be on their divine path, the highest and greatest good. It's not a normal reading. Also, I believe I tap into the Akashic Records information because I get to the root of the issue, right? And people always say to me, oh my God, you help me more than my therapist. I think because it gets to the root. And it's up to them. Do you want to help yourself? Yes or not? Because you can continue on with that. It's, are you ready to let your soul grow, right? To get that life lesson that you came here. Mediumship, I feel, gives people healing and closure, right? They're in so much pain, especially if they think their loved ones are no longer there and things like that. It helps with that. And the energy work is to help shift things, right? And I like to say the quantum healing because everything is available in the quantum realm. So if you can match your vibration to that, right? And there's many ways to do that. You attach to that outcome. It doesn't just have to be healing. It could be anything that you want in your life. So I help people with that. I definitely do it in my own life, but I also help people because, again, if we're small, if we think we're small, you're going to remain that. But if you realize who we really are, what we're really connected to, anything is possible. So those are the things that I like to do.
Question that's running through my mind as you speak. And this is such a free gift, and it's such an essential connection to have in our lives. Why do people fear it? Why do people doubt it? I was one of those people. So I asked this question. I know why I feared it. I know why I didn't fear it, but I know why I thought it was just mumbo jumbo and I pushed it away. And God created situations in my life that I had no choice but to sit still and acknowledge this is an essential part of my life. But I'd like to ask you, as a divine messenger over the years of working with people, what is the common thread you've seen amongst the people who resist this and why?
Resist it. People are probably not going to like it. But honestly, from just my belief, and I do teach people to use their discernment. What is your truth? I don't say swallow everything that I say because that ties into my answer is they playing it small. You don't take responsibility. You're a victim to circumstances. So when you take responsibility, you take back your power, you take back ownership, right? So things don't happen. You're a participant. What did you do in this situation? So that's why people resist it because they would have to take responsibility. And that's why I teach people, don't just swallow what anybody says to you, follow your heart and your gut, use your discernment. Is this your truth?
But do you know how many people, me included, I'm included in this comment, who throughout my life had the most overwhelming intuition? It's almost like someone was speaking to me, but I don't see them. That's how loud it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I pushed it aside. I'm like, oh, that's just me thinking this.
Yeah, but think about the programming on the planet. Most, like there's certain cultures that they believe in this, right? They even encourage it. But a lot of cultures, shut it down. That's just crazy. Even myself, growing up in New York, my parents, especially my dad, like, I think they were afraid of it, even though it runs in the family, and they would say, this isn't real. So that, you know, people are afraid of it, and they don't want to take ownership that we are part of the divine. The divine is part of us.
First of all, there are a lot of people who don't even recognize there's such a thing as divine, or such a gift as the divine. So we're out of time, but before we go, you have a ministry or a seminar or something coming up. Share it with us.
On Royal Caribbean, it's Spirit Heart Cruise. I am the keynote speaker. It's February 27th, 2022 to March 5th. And it's leaving from Fort Lauderdale. It's really, we're going to Cozumel, Roatan, and what else? Costa Maya. And we're going to have a shaman on board. I think they're doing 3 separate classes. One person's doing soul contracts. It's just an amazing journey. I did that I was just one of the presenters in 2019, and it truly helped to transform my life, because there's amazing speakers that are a part of this. So I just wanted to say that if anybody's interested, I guess go to my website at www.divinemessagesbydaniela.com. It's on my website. And I'm also going to be doing a retreat in 2022 in Gulfport, Florida, and another one at Sacred Grounds. So that's up and coming. And I have a YouTube channel. I realize not everybody's comfortable getting psychic or mediumship readings. So I have a YouTube channel that shares information for free that will help people, empower them to help them grow in a spiritual journey.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have.
I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Sure. I really believe that when we have certain experiences, they're not always to be put in a drawer and put away and say, this happened to me. I think sometimes some of them are meant to be shared because they will help someone. And you
Meant to be shared.
know who it is. You put it out to the universe, and the universe will get it where it needs to go to help whomever is in need of the help.
Can I just share quickly? A friend of mine tells me he's also, he's an Akashic record reader, and he says, you win or you learn. And I love that. You win or you learn. And a lot of our life lessons, when are really rough, we grow exponentially from them. So I don't think like we're being punished. It's to let us know how powerful we are and to help remember who we really are. I hope that helps someone.
I hope so too. Daniela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And God bless. And I thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, and I hope that you've gathered some inspiration and encouragement from Daniela's story, and go to her website and check out, what she's doing and what she has there that can benefit you, and find out how you can contact her if you'd like to reach out to her. And again, her website is www.divineinspirations.
No. www.divinemessages by Daniela.
Divinemessagesbydaniela.com.
And next time you had mentioned you would like to go over chakra information.
And stay tuned, because I will bring her back and she will explain what our chakras are and why it's important to keep all of your chakras fully aligned. And I will see you next time. Thank you.